By Christmas Eve, 1914, the First World War had raged across Europe for nearly 5 months. The grim reality of a hard war began to set in. Both sides began carving out trenches across the eastern and western fronts. They prepared for a war that had no end in sight. The Western Front extended for hundreds of miles through France and Belgium, protecting the heart of France from an invading German-led army. Life in the trenches was bleak. Soldiers on both sides were at the mercy of a bitter European winter. Supplies and morale were dwindling. There was insufficient medical care, and the enemy trenches were often only 100 feet from their own fortified positions. The distance between the opposing trenches, referred to as no man's land, was littered with the bodies of the deceased from both sides. To step into this space meant to step into nearly certain death. It was against this backdrop that on a moonlit night and a frost-covered ground, the unexpected occurred. It was something that defied the cold realities of war and would have a lasting impact on all those involved and even beyond.
Our series, Jesus and Christmas. Before I dive into it, I want to take a second, as I always like to do, look into the camera and say welcome to those of you who are joining us online. Wherever you are in the world, we're glad you're here with us today. And I want to say a special thank you and hello to the servicemen and women who are around the world today in tents and huts, and they'll be spending Christmas away from their family. Thank you for defending our freedoms. We see you, we're glad you're here, and we love you. Vineyard, would you help me welcome those who are joining us online? We're glad you're here. Well, hey, before I dive into the message, I want to give you a couple key announcements, some key dates that I don't want you to miss. This time of year is very busy. Things are moving fast. Can you believe Christmas is in 1 week? I mean, it's here. So things are moving quickly, and I want to give you some dates. So if you want to get out your phones, pull up your calendar, or if you want to write it down on your outline, I encourage you to capture these dates. You don't want to miss them. The first one, we already talked about a little bit, but that's our Christmas Eve candlelight services. That's next Saturday, this Saturday coming up. We don't have Saturday morning prayer, as Lee said, but we do have 2 services that evening at 4 p.m. and 5:30. Those will be candlelight services that we invite you to be a part of. And you know, we say here at Vineyard that we encourage, especially if you're on the dream team, that 2 times a year, you want to shoot for to have an unchurched, far from God person next to you. And this is one of those times we try to give you a heads up when there's great series or messages that are good to invite. Some are just better than others to invite people to. This is one of those services. People are looking to go to a candlelight service. So, you know, watch. If you watch this week, God will open a door. About this time last year, Olivia and I had just given birth to our daughter Lily in September. And so in December last year, we were still paying off bills. Come on. I mean, who knew it was so expensive? And so we were on the phone with our accountant who worked at the doctor's office, and we talked for like 45 minutes, and God opened a door. It's its own whole story, but God opened a door. We ended up praying for her, hearing about some challenges she was having at home, and we found out she didn't have a church to go to, and so we invited her to our candlelight service last year, and she came. And we sat with her, and we got to know her, and it was, you never know what God's going to do. And so I'm telling you, if you keep your eyes open this week, he will open that door for you. He will, okay? So that's our Christmas Eve services. You don't want to miss those. And as Pastor Andy said, we have Christmas Day services 9:30 and 11. So those are online only. That's the key thing there. We want you to spend time with your family that day. But we will be streaming it at 9:30 and 11 a.m., and after that, it will be on demand. You can watch the stream or the on-demand version on Facebook or YouTube, as they put that handle up earlier. But here it is again, the Vineyard Church VA. If you just search that on Facebook or YouTube, you will find it. Okay, so that's Christmas. That's December. Well, we also turn the new year, January 1st. We have services again. That's Sunday. That's 9:30 and 11. And so we invite you to come to that. Remember, there's no more Saturday morning prayer the rest of this year. We're going to pick that up in January. But we will have in-person and online services January 1st, just like today. January 1st, we also have Growth Track, Step 1. So if you're ready to take that next step to discover your God-given purpose, we invite you to that. It's right after both services. There's food, there's childcare. We talk about our church, our story. You get to meet our senior pastors, Andy and Sharon, share a meal with them, hear their story. And so make plans to be a part of that. If you haven't done that, it's a great one to start with, step one. In January, we also do something else. We always like to kick off the year. We've done this for a couple years now. It's 21 days of prayer and fasting. So we invite you to be a part of that. We do it as a church. And I'm not going to talk about that a lot today. Where we're going to talk about that is at our first Wednesday service in January. That's at 7 p.m. That's on January 4th, the first Wednesday of January. So come be a part of that. We have a gift for you on that day. We're going to give you, I know this is a lot, I'm almost done. We have a gift for you to help set you up with 21 days of prayer and fasting to be successful in that, right? If you want to get a head start, I know some of you like to get a head start because you're filling up, eating a lot during Christmas, and you want to start looking at what to fast. Our team spent all week putting together a little web page for you where you can go look, read more about fasting, and that's vineyardchurch.com/21 days of prayer. But hey, don't miss this. The key of fasting is actually what it pushes us toward, and that's prayer. When we give up something, it's because we're actually being strategic and replacing that with something else, okay? That's prayer. So, yes, we'll help you pick something to fast, but I really want you to hit our Saturday morning prayer services in January. Those will be at 9 a.m. every Saturday, and I'm telling you, this is actually the highlight of our church right now. If you come, you know, right? Every Saturday, God shows up in a powerful way. And so we're going to do it together, January 14th, 21st, and 28th, 9 a.m. You don't want to miss it. All right, that's it. That's all the dates. But here's why I wanted to hit those, because they're not just events. They're God encounters, and I don't want you to miss them as we turn the year into 2023. I believe God has a lot in store for our church and for you. Okay, and I want you to be a part of it. Well, today's message, throughout the year, I try to do a little bit of reading. I'm not in school anymore, so I have to kind of self-initiate to do some reading. And this year, I was reading through a World War I account. And I'm not a history buff, but it was a very interesting story. And as I was studying it, the Holy Spirit gave me a message for you guys today, the week before Christmas. And he wanted me to share it with you, so I'm just fired up. I'm ready to share it, and I believe God has a word for you. Well, I discovered as I was reading this account 103 years ago, this guy was assassinated. And here's a picture. You might not know who he is or was, but this guy was assassinated 103 years ago. He wasn't the leader of his nation. He wasn't in charge of his country. He was an Austrian archduke named Franz Ferdinand. That was his name. And he was assassinated in the summer of 1914. And if you know the story, this is actually what sparked the World War I. It escalated into this global conflict. Austria decided after he got assassinated, they declared war on who they thought the perpetrators were. So Austria declared war on Serbia, and then Russia's like, what? So they step in and defend their Serbian brothers by declaring war on Austria. And then Germany takes the next step and declares war on Russia. Then France takes the next step and declares war on Germany. And then Germany says, okay, well, we're going to declare war on Belgium. And then all this is taking place in just a week's time. And then Britain steps in and declares war on Germany. All of this happened in just a few days. And this is because of one man's life. Now, I'm not trying to disparage the poor brother. I'm sure he's a precious guy. But this somewhat simple act it escalated into something much more than it needed to be, right? And World War I was 4 years long. And it cost some researchers say up to 20 million lives. So much death. And it's really because of the war tactic that was used in this war. It was called trench warfare. And I want to show you it, and I want you to pay attention, though, as I'm showing this. See if you can see any modern-day parallels with this kind of warfare. Well, trench warfare, what they would do is they'd dig in, establish their position. They would say, this is what I believe, and I'm not moving. They would dig in. They would never really come eye to eye with their enemy. What they would do is they just hurl ammo at the other trenches. This is what I believed. I'm sending it that way. And that's how it went. And this war tactic is why so many people died during World War I, almost 20 million people. Well, it was a brutal war. And what's interesting about this war is that the battle lines over the 4 years actually did not change much. There wasn't much geography movement. Let me say it this way. World War I didn't accomplish much. Just a lot of people died in a very long conflict, a global conflict. And it's sad, but the summer the war started, 1914, 6 months later, it was the first Christmas of World War I. And on Christmas Eve, someone, we don't know who, we don't know if it was a Brit, a German, a French soldier, we don't know who it was. It was someone on the Western Front, though, on Christmas Eve, stepped out and put down their weapons and declared a truce. And what's so interesting about that is their commanding soldiers didn't tell them to do it. They had disagreements. They could have been killed, yet this person put down his weapon and stepped out and declared a truce. See, it's because this person, the count is that this person was a Christian, and he said, hey, we have something we share. Even though there's disagreements between our country, there are Christians that want to celebrate Christmas together. And so he stepped out, declared a truce. What happened is it caused them to look eye to eye, these enemy soldiers that were killing each other, and talk to each other. And so that's exactly what happened. They started eating food together, telling stories on Christmas Eve. They even, history accounts, played games together. Isn't that crazy? I love that. And what's amazing about this story is that the next day, so the day after Christmas, the next day, history accounts that when the firing was supposed to resume, they were supposed to start shooting at each other, the soldiers wouldn't pull the trigger. They wouldn't shoot the person they just had fruitcake with the day before. Come on. It got so bad that they wouldn't shoot. This is true. You can go look up history. The commanding officers had to reassign them to different fronts just so they would start shooting again. And then they came out with this rule in the military at the time. It was called no fraternization. It meant you can't get to know the person you're going to kill because you won't kill them if you know them. And so this is a true event. This event was called the Christmas Truce of 1914. And I think we live in a similar time. I know there's a real war going on in Ukraine with guns and weapons, but I also believe there's a war going on in people's hearts, that people are more entrenched than ever in their positions and their beliefs, and they're just hurling ammo at other people that disagree with them. They're not coming eye to eye for conflict. And really, this is mainly being done through social media, if I'm honest. And so, that I use social media. I don't hate social media, but I do try to be careful how much time I spend on there because some of the things people say are very hurtful. And they'll throw ammo like you're not even a real person, right? And so I see the fighting between politics, Republican, Democrat, with race, marriages, families, anger at churches, our church included. I mean, you see all this taking place, and it's trench warfare. And the fact is, nobody wants to change their position. Nobody wants to come eye to eye. And see, there's this tension that's taking place in people's hearts. And I don't know about you, but it's affected me. 2022, when I reflect on it, there's been some great things, and I give God the glory for that. But honestly, it's been an emotionally exhausting year for me. There's been some challenges. And when not just here, but in the world with, some of the stuff going on in Ukraine, the polarization, the hatred, the murders in our country, the vileness on the internet, social media, my email inbox. I mean, it's everywhere. And honestly, I'm concerned. I'm a little concerned. We need to come back together, put down our weapons, meet eye to eye, and have some fruitcake. Come on, somebody. I mean, we need to come back together. Let's let Christmas, here's what I want. I have a proposal for you. Let's let Christmas serve as a catalyst to bring us back together. So I'm declaring today the Vineyard Christmas Truce of 2022. Come on, church. Husbands, wives, families, small group relationships, healing of homes, marriages. And here's the cool part. It's already happening. It's not like my message initiated this. I've already heard stories this past week of marriages being healed, of relationships and small groups being restored. And I believe the Lord is just getting started. That's why I shared those dates with you at the beginning. It's important. You want to get in on this. So let's let Christmas be a catalyst for a truce. Well, Samuel, what's a truce? A truce is a suspension in the fight. It means I'm mad, but I'm gonna let something stop for a moment. I'm gonna let Christmas, for us, it's gonna be Christmas, be a catalyst to stop the fighting. Okay, well, how do truce work? Well, the same way they did 103 years ago, somebody has to take the first step. And this one's the kicker. It's the hardest one because we're always waiting on the other person to take the first step, right? I'm not wrong. I'm right? Everybody else is wrong. We're always waiting on that other person to take the first step. And I'm calling on Vineyard Church, the Church of the Living God. Let's be a people who take the first step this season. In our communities, in our families, people are going to step on your toes. It's just going to happen. But let's take the first step. Let's say, hey, let's let the fighting stop. There's more that brings us together than we disagree about. I don't know if you all heard about the couple that was playing the silent treatment game. If you've been married more than a day, you know that game. It's a game where if you talk first, you lose. So there was this couple playing the silent treatment game, and the husband, he actually needed to catch a flight early in the morning. It was at 5 a.m., but he couldn't ask his wife to wake him up because he'd lose. So he said, okay, I know what I'm going to do. So he wrote on a Post-it note, I have a flight at 5 a.m., please wake me up. And he put it on her pillow. That way she'd see it before she went to bed. Well, he went to bed and, of course, woke up the next morning, 9 a.m., jumped out of bed, mad as a hornet, and he looked over and saw on his nightstand a little Post-it note from his wife. Wake up, it's 5 a.m. Men, don't even try. We're not prepared for such a fight. Well, we have to take the first step, but then we also have to be willing to drop some weapons, right? We have to be willing to let go of some ideas, some ideology. Here's why, because all of a sudden the thing we're fighting about, the thing we're fighting for becomes more important than the person we're fighting with. And that's a miss. That's a miss. See, so we have to be willing to drop our weapons. Then we have to be able to focus on what unites. See, there's going to be some differences, but why does it have to get so vile and evil? Let's focus on the things that unite us. The fact that, for example, we're Christians. We serve together. We celebrate the birth of Jesus together. Let's come together in unity this season. Something special happens when we do that. I believe that's what happened on that moonlit night in 1914, that they came together, these soldiers ate, laughed, saw eye to eye. There was an external war going on still, right, in 1914. There was still war raging on, but internally, a war was being settled in the soldiers' hearts. And what happened is they left changed. That's what happens is you leave changed. So this season, let's not just attend another Christmas event, whether that's today or on Christmas Eve, but let's experience Christmas. Let's allow Christmas to bring healing to our relationships and our lives. That's experiencing Christmas. Now, if you want to do it the way the world does it, it is different. The world does it a different way. The world actually has a phrase for it, how to work through this. They call it conflict resolution. Conflict resolution. It means you keep working it out. Don't miss this. It means you figure out who did what. There's a right and there's a wrong. And you declare a winner and a loser. That's what happened during World War I. They did come to a resolution. It only took 4 years and 20 million lives to get there. See, I'm telling you, the Bible has a different way. The Bible really does. It's not resolution, but it's called reconciliation. Reconciliation. See, it's different than resolution. Reconciliation means also bringing back parties together, but not by resolving it, but by bringing the account balances of both parties to zero. It levels it back out. It brings the balance to zero. This is what Jesus did, my friends. Jesus did this in my life. He came. That's what the Christmas story is. He came into the mess, forgave me, no discussion. And thank goodness, because if there was a discussion needed, he would have needed a couple hours on my college years alone. Where are you all at? I mean, thank goodness, no, right? Thank goodness there was no discussion needed. Jesus forgave me. He reconciled it. He brought my account to zero. He balanced it. Zero, reconciled. That's why banks, they used to send paper. Young people, this might be something you're learning today. Back in the day, they used to send a piece of paper to your mailbox that's outside your house. And, sorry, I'm being mean. Inside that mailbox, you'd find that what was called a reconciliation statement. A reconciliation statement. And what that was the bank's history, their record of all the transactions you had, all the things you did. And what you would do is you'd get out your checkbook, your ledger, and you'd compare them. And what happened is they often didn't match, right? And so you'd have to go through the process of reconciling them. Well, I used to do it with paper. Now I do it on my computer. And, you know, I enjoy it. I'm a numbers guy. I'm hunting down every 3 cents, make sure it all balances out. Really because I want that zero at the end. And that, celebrate. I made it. I'm goofy. But, hey, I share that with you because I want that feeling for you. I want your balance to be zero. Here's a word from God for you, I believe. It's that God wants your heart balance to be zero. He wants you to be able to walk that light and easy without having a balance, to be reconciled. That's what he wants to do. And then he wants you to do it for others. In other words, to make a difference in the lives of others. That's what our dream team does every week here. Let me show you in the Bible here where it says that. It says in Ephesians 2, for Christ himself has brought, let's say this together, Christ himself has brought peace to us. He united Jews and Gentiles into one people. So he took two groups and united them. He brought peace. It could be any two groups, though. He brought peace. He brought peace. How? Well, he took the first step. When in his own body on the cross, he took the first step. He stepped on the battlefield. He broke down the wall of hostility that separated us. See, Jesus took the first step. He made peace between Jews and Gentiles. It could be any two groups, Republicans, Democrats, husband, wife, siblings. He can bring peace, and he does it by creating how? In himself one new people from two groups. Now watch this. Together as one body, Christ reconciled both groups to God by means of his death on the cross. And our hostility toward each other was put to death. See, Christ has brought the balance to zero, my friends. He reconciled it. How? Because he forgave me and didn't want to talk about it. He let my balance be zero when he stepped out on the battlefield and died on the cross. In other words, through Jesus, God brings our balance to zero. Through Jesus, God brings our balance to zero. Here's another verse where we see this again. All this is from God, who, there it is again, reconciled us to himself through Christ and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. So in other words, now you go do it. Goes on to say that God was reconciling the world to himself in Christ, not counting people's sins against them. In other words, it's zero. The account balance is zero. And he has committed to us the message of reconciliation. He brought our account balance to zero. He reconciled it so now that we can go do it for others. Go do it in the world around you. Let me say it this way. When we are reconciled with God, he gives us the power to reconcile with others. Sammy, are you saying I've got to drop it? I've got to let that thing go? Yes. Yes. You can try to resolve it. You can try to fix it, but there's going to be casualties. And I'm not saying there's not room for discussion, for counseling, for talking it out. I'm not saying that, but reconciling it, there's really only one way to fix it, and that's not resolution, but reconciliation. It's bringing the balance to zero. And see, when God does it in you, a miracle takes place, not just in you, but in the world around you, in the relationships around you. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Samuel, if you only knew my husband, if you only knew my wife, then you would know, I can't do that. I cannot do that. You don't know our situation. I know what you're thinking. And maybe you can't alone. But if you let God work in your life in a powerful way, you can. You really can. I'm telling you. And so that's why for the 29-year history of this church, we haven't just invited people to church. No, we've invited people into a process where God works in you and on you and in the world around you. We invite people into a process. That's why we say it this way. We say, give us a year of your life and see what God can do. Give us a year of your life. Don't just come on Sundays. That's an important part. But get involved in the programming. Go to Growth Track, small groups. Come to Serve Day, first Wednesday. Do 21 days of prayer and fasting. And then at the end of the year, I promise you, you'll go, oh, wow, I can do it. I can. You know, a few years ago, I was praying for this couple that moved away out of there. I love this couple deeply. They were involved in small groups, the Dream Team. One of the unique things I liked about this couple is they came early to service. That's not it. But they did come early to service, and we have a video that kicks off worship. It's called our pre-roll, our pre-service video, and it's actually a worship warm-up. There's clapping at the last minute. There's like chanting with your voice. It's supposed to warm it up. Obviously, I'm not warm enough. But they would actually start worshiping during that. And I just thought it was so cool. They totally got the point of it. Well, this couple, it's besides the point. This couple, I really loved them, and I was praying for them because they were moving out of the area. And after I was done praying, the husband looked at me and said, Samuel, we remember the first day we came here. And we came, it was a rainy Sunday. The greeter team was escorting people in with umbrellas, and we happened to get you. You were one of the people escorting, and you talked to us, got to know us. And we knew in that moment this church, the team here, cared for their people. And then when that first day, they continued to tell me, that first day they sat in the service, and somebody else was preaching, and the pastor gave this challenge, and they said, well, that's easy. This church loves us. Why not? And so they jumped in, and they said their life was changed. that a year later they had gotten in small groups, gone through Growth Track, jumped on the dream team, and they said their lives changed. I'll never forget this. They said their lives changed not because of the event, but it's because of the life-changing people they met. So I share that with you because I'm offering that to you today. I'm offering that to you. Give us a year and watch your life change. Let's make 2023 a year of reconciliation for you. See, God brings our balance to zero. And what happens is when he does that, it begins to heal relationships around us too. So come, I invite you to take the journey with us. God is in the truce business. He is. The first truce, believe it or not, wasn't on that Christmas Eve night in 1914. No, the first truce was actually the night we celebrate next week. That's Christmas, Christmas Eve. And what happened is, 2,000 years ago, God stepped into a world of global conflict, of chaos between the Romans and the Jews, Herod, Mary, Joseph, all these relational issues. It was a global conflict. And Jesus stepped into the middle of that conflict. And the angels, when Jesus came, the angels got so fired up, they said it this way in Luke chapter 2. But the angel said to them, he's talking to the shepherds that they were announcing it to, "Do not be afraid. I bring you good news that will cause great joy." In other words, you don't know how good your life is about to get for all people. Because today in the town of David, a Savior has been born. That's Jesus to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord. This will be a sign to you. You will find a baby wrapped in clothes and lying in a manger. Suddenly, a whole lot of other angels showed up and started praising God. They wanted to get in on the party. And what they started chanting, saying was, "Glory to God in the highest heaven, and on earth, peace. Peace to those on whom his favor rests." In other words, on peace for those who have God working in their lives, on whom his favor rests. And the truth is, you get to control whether that favor is on your life or not by taking a step towards him, by taking a step towards him. So don't just celebrate Christmas, experience Christmas this year. Don't let another Christmas go by without knowing the truth and experiencing the truth of Christmas. That's why the beautiful hymn and Christmas carol writer put it this way: "Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mild, God and sinners reconciled." Would you bow your heads? Let's close in prayer. Come, Holy Spirit. That's God's presence. I just invite more of God's presence. I just want us to rest here for a moment. Come, Holy Spirit. I don't know who this message was for, or who needed to hear it, but God is touching people right now. That's Jesus. For every one of us, we have that conflict, that issue, that thing that's unsettling in our hearts. And the Holy Spirit will bring it to your mind. And we've been trying to resolve it, trying to fix it. But the reality is there's no fixing it without casualties. So I pray in the mighty name of Jesus that you would give us the power and the courage to be able to lay down our weapons, to take the first step, to come together this Christmas, to declare a truce, and to leave changed. Lord, would you bring healing to the families in this room, to the marriages, to the neighbors, the friends, the relationships, Father, in our workplaces and in our schools. Lord, I know that's only something you can do because you did it for us first. So Holy Spirit, would you do that? With every head bowed and every eye closed, if you're here and you're not reconciled with God, in other words, let me say it this way, you're carrying a balance, and you know it, you can feel it. The weight of the sin, the shame, the guilt is heavy. You can feel it, and you're tired, it's heavy. Do not leave here with that. Be reconciled. How you do that is you give it to God. You surrender your life to him. Let me say it this way. You surrender the controls to Jesus. And how you do this, I'm going to pray with you in just a moment. I'm going to lead you in a prayer. And so I'm not going to make you stand up or come down front. No, it's between you and God right where you are. But if you're saying, Samuel, that's me, I need to be reconciled. I need to come back to God. I need to give God the controls. What I want to do is I want to pray with you right where you are. Okay, so with every head bowed, every head closed, I'm going to lead you in the words. You can whisper it. You can say it in your heart, but just mean it. Make the words yours. Would you say right where you are, if you want to pray with me, just say, God, thank you for sending your son, Jesus. I give you the control of my life. Come work inside of me. Change me. Help me to be the person you created me to be. Jesus, thank you for dying for me on the cross. Say it this way. Jesus, I love you. Today, let my life never be the same. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. Vineyard, would you celebrate with those who just prayed that prayer?